The Secret Agent is written and directed by Kleber, Mendonça, Filho, and stars Wagner, Moura, Carlos Francisco, and Tania Maria. Set in 1977 Recife, Brazil, it follows Marcelo, a technology expert in his early 40s, who returns in the midst of Carnival to reunite with his son and also plot a dangerous escape under the ever-watchful eyes of Brazil's repressive military regime. This was a movie that I was anticipating pretty heavily. After its premiere at Cannes, it instantly became one of the most acclaimed and raved about movies of the year, as well as winning multiple awards, including Best Actor and Best Director, and it has stayed consistent as one of the most acclaimed movies of the year through all these months, so my anticipation has only gone up. I had a chance to see it at a film festival, and this really feels like the exact type of movie that would improve heavily on a rewatch, as while I did enjoy this movie a lot, and there's a ton about it I love or admire, I definitely had some reservations about it from that first watch. But all my reservations kind of feel like things that could be resolved on a second viewing of the movie, with a better understanding of the pacing, execution, and just what the movie's in pursuit of. Because this movie is extremely interesting for so many reasons. I think one of the big stories about this movie is the central performance from Wagner Moura, so I feel there's no better place to start. This is just a great, classic, movie star, leading man performance from Moura. This is a character that is very internal, he's on the run, he's hiding himself constantly, and he's always thinking, but he's got this incredible and undeniable natural aura and this demeanor about him that makes him so magnetic to watch on screen. It's sort of a brilliant stroke to have this very nuanced and internal and even largely quiet emotional performance at the center of this movie, which has so many crazy moments and stylistic flares and crazy bits of filmmaking. In amongst all that, Moura's performance really grounds the movie, and he makes it look completely effortless. It's a really fantastic performance, and it really can't be overstated. He is excellent in the movie. Beyond his incredible star turn, Filho has created such a rich tapestry of a world here in his recreation of 1977 Recife, Brazil. Not just in terms of the physical world itself, but the characters within the movie. The supporting cast is really fantastic down the line. People like Alice Carvalho, Maria Fernanda Candido, the late great Udo Kier, all show up in small roles and just do really great work. But the standouts for me were Carlos Francisco and Tania Maria. Francisco plays Marcelo's father-in-law. Francisco exudes this incredible warmth and safety, but he's also not afraid to challenge Moura in some moments. Their scenes are really tender, engaging, and just all around beautifully acted. But as great as he was, Tania Maria absolutely lit my heart on fire. What an absolutely incredible performance. She plays Marcelo's landlady, Dona Sebastiana, and she honestly might be my favorite performance in the movie and one of my favorites of the year. She is so goddamn funny. She's this little old lady, and every line she says, the way she carries herself, her timing, it's all genuinely top shelf stuff. And in the middle of this movie that can be very tense and very politically engaging and all this, she is an absolutely brilliantly deployed bit of comedic relief. I don't have enough good things to say about this performance. She's really an absolute delight. I also mentioned before the physical world of the movie being a huge positive, and it really is. It contributes so much to the vibe of this movie and really made me feel like I was dropped right inside a time and place I would never be able to come into contact with otherwise. The production design, costume design, and cinematography are all some of the most underrated of the year and just make this movie absolutely stunning to look at. And really just, you feel like you're right alongside Marcelo in this world. And that is largely due as well to the incredible work from Kleber Mendonça Filho. And his work is truly amazing and endlessly interesting. This is as I said, a tense political thriller, and yet it's directed using a lot of kind of genre conventions and even some moments of very heightened B-movie flair, and those were some of my favorite moments in the whole movie. There's one sequence in particular that really leads into this, and it shot me out of my seat. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing and how much it came out of nowhere in this movie. It's so interesting, but he's also in all these tense scenes, in all these different moments, Filho knows exactly what to do with the camera, and it's just a beautifully directed movie. And his writing is largely just as good too. As I said, every character is so distinct and memorable due to his writing. The dialogue is often very sharp. There's some great moments of humor, very deep conversations, very long extended dialogue scenes, and his writing in tandem with his direction do a really good job of creating that quietly, incredibly oppressive feeling of not just Marcelo's life on the run from these hitmen, but also Brazil itself at this time. Now, with all these positive words I have, it feels weird to have a few reservations, but as I said at the top, I think this is the exact type of movie that will improve on a second watch, but I did have those reservations, so I have to talk about them. I struggled a bit with the pacing in this movie, and my lack of knowledge about the political state of Brazil at the time, honestly. This is a nearly 3-hour movie, and it really takes its time, and I think that's a big part of the reason it took me so long to get on the movie's wavelength. I've never really encountered a hangout movie thriller before, so it threw me off in the moment, and I couldn't really get on the movie's wavelength until probably more than halfway through, and I think on a second watch that would not be as much of an issue. Additionally, my lack of knowledge about just the political intricacies of Brazil at the time is something that was bothering me a bit on that first watch. You know, I think there were definitely some intricacies and specifics I was a bit frustrated by not knowing or not being able to put my finger on in the moment, but like the pacing, I could see this being less of an issue on the rewatch. I think it's less about the details of the time and the oppression and more about the feeling itself, which I think the movie communicates quite well. Beyond that, the movie shifts perspectives at certain points. I was always locked in while spending time with Marcelo, but there are moments where it starts to follow the hitmen after him, and I thought those scenes were fine, they're still good, but I was always kind of jonesing to get back to Wagner Moura. And finally, there's a framing device in this movie that is introduced, I'd say about an hour in, and pops up a few more times until coming full circle for the movie's ending. That was something I admittedly bumped on quite a bit, and something that I'm very curious to see how it plays a second time around. I don't want to explain what this framing device is, but it just kind of brought me out of the story a bit. I felt like the central story of Marcelo in Recife in 1977 was more than enough. And there's also a casting decision in the midst of this framing device that I bumped up on a bit, but it's still interesting and something that I could see improving on a rewatch. But as you can see, with all my broken recordness, I feel as though all of these issues I had with the movie are things that could potentially be rectified by a second viewing. And I think that speaks to the quality and staying power this movie has. The fact that the more time I've had to think about this movie, the things that I bumped up against are falling down, and the things that I loved about it are going up. And I think that really speaks to just the talent and skill and execution of this movie, that even though my experience and viewing of the movie is pretty flawed, it's a movie I'm like desperate to see again and desperate to keep thinking about. And yeah, I think that just speaks to its quality. The incredible and uniquely strange direction from Kleber Mendonça Filho, as well as his excellent script, an amazing central movie star performance from Wagner Moura, as well as solid supporting turns from pretty much everybody, but namely Carlos Francisco and the incredible Tania Maria, and just an incredible, like I said, a hangout movie thriller that does an incredible job of putting you right back in 1977 Brazil. This is a movie that is very accomplished, and even though I have all these reservations with my one viewing, like I said, I think round 2 will see a lot more love from me, so I would absolutely recommend The Secret Agent. It's a pretty great movie that, if nothing else, will give you a lot to think about. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!